All right, we are live. Hello, ladies. Thank you for joining today on our live with and supporting Domestic Violence Awareness Month, October, the entire month. How are you guys feeling today?
I'm doing great, Agape. Happy Friday.
Yes, happy Friday.
Yes, it is Friday as we get ready by leading the example for the weekend. Let's see where we're going to go today. And I'm looking to Agape for her lead because it is her month, as I love what she does. And we're looking at how do we, if we're in that situation of violence, how do we actually confront it? Because it can be really, really scary. And so that's why I think Agape went and picked the topic of confronting today, because we need to talk about what to do.
Yes, and I would actually like to talk about it from different perspectives. I mean, first and foremost, as a woman, and then, of course, as a mother, right? So, as a woman that's in a situation, in a domestic violence situation, we have opportunities every single day to confront what's in front of us. And I believe that it's fear that prevents us from taking that step on confronting, because for most of us, we believe that confronting is a negative approach, that confrontational topics create a higher friction, a stronger tension, more, it can provoke additional violence. And, I really want to hone in on that, because if you look at the word confronting and you look at the definition and you look at how it's used in different areas, I'm going to give some extreme examples. When you think about gang banging, when you think about gangs on the street and they go to confront another gang, there's really no type of approach to mitigate or seek resolution. It's just straight at it. Okay. Now, when you think of the military, their initial approach is peace at first. They don't want to go straight to war. They want to find some sort of common ground, common understanding, a way to hopefully mitigate the riots or the war or the acts of violence. And so, if we can just take those two extremes and kind of bring them to the middle ground for ourselves in our personal relationship, where we live, where we're laying our head at night, the roof that's over our head, how do we go about confronting a violent situation when we're in there? And the simple, not so simple answer is that every situation is different. You have to know you before you worry about somebody else. You have to really identify what or are your options and how do you want to confront? Do you want to confront verbally? Do you want to confront silently? Do you want to confront as retreating instead of in your face? There's many ways to do it. And what I always go back on and really try to help people understand, when especially when they're in that situation, is that the best choice may not be the right choice, and the right choice may not be the best choice. As long as a choice is being made, best or right, that's solid. You can only do with what you have at the moment. So I'll pause right there so you guys can piggyback or ask some questions.
Well, I just want to add to that in terms of confronting, also just comes to mind as you were saying that, is that uncomfortable conversation that we hate having. And the feelings you get when you're like, I really should talk to that person, but then you spend all your time talking to everyone around instead of the person that will actually affect that situation, or that's how gossiping and all those negative aspects come about. But what I also want to say is sometimes we do need that space to be heard out loud with a friend or someone before we can have that conversation with who it needs to be. And so that's also why, even when I look back at what I'm doing with Connecting Mamas and the Women's Circle, is that Women's Circle is that space to start bringing out what are the things that I need to address. How do I do that? And learning to do that in a safe space is sometimes what we need to do first before we can actually go, as you said, with the word confronting, because even in that word confronting, there's so much connotation and like, oh my gosh, I got to brace for this. But how do we have those uncomfortable conversations to actually lead to solutions? Any ideas?
And for both of you, I love how you broke down the word confronting. It's not always negative. You're identifying your options, like Agape said. You're addressing the issue. So I think sometimes when people think about confrontations, they think that it has a negative connotation, but you have options. I love the option that you mentioned in terms of nonverbal. There are other ways you can, write a note, things that you can do to make you more comfortable. And I just think the biggest thing is letting people know that they have options. There's no one way to address it or to have the confrontation. So, yeah.
That's right. And thank you for saying that, because while you were giving feedback and adding on, my brain is also over here spinning. And, of course, when you have an idea that you are ready to go and leave your situation, moving out is the first step. Moving on is a journey. But that moving out, when you're building up to confront that moment in time, this is when you can start building your resources, when you can start seeking out those resources, asking for help, talking in, like you said, different types of groups, comfortable settings where you feel free to be, your authentic self, and it's a safe space to share what you're going through, to seek out some sort of assistance. You never know who's in the room or Zoom or virtual reality platform with you that has gone through a similar situation, or that has experience, or that knows somebody that, has an advocate, or knows somebody that's in, legislation. I mean, the statistics show that, 1 out of 3 women have been exposed to or experienced a form of domestic violence. And it's a shame that in today's world, we're still very ashamed to speak out about it or seek help, through it. But the reality is we're all still living with it, very much so, behind closed doors. And again, when you are ready to, plan your exit, gather your resources, get them into play. Make sure that you have a solid plan in how you are going to exit peacefully, so that you don't have to come across that combative side of that confrontation. You have to love yourself first. And something that, that Cherie talks about is, covering your assets, right? So it's unfortunate that a lot of us, when we leave a violent home with our children, we leave everything behind. And those are the only assets most of the time. And, or, we have assets that were taken from us, or that we're afraid to fight for, because, it's best to leave everything behind and not fight for all of our assets, because our safety is worth more than jeopardizing it for what we have. And then, like I said earlier, the moving out is the physical, quick thing, but the moving on is the journey. And when you reestablish yourself and you get your assets back in order, or you start to rebuild them from scratch, learning how to safeguard them and keep them for whatever may come in the future, or whatever may, be looking for you from the past, you're safe all around, not just yourself and your family, but also everything that you have worked towards and for, and that you've had to replace. I mean, this is a full circle. And I strongly believe and want to hone in on, the impact that we create with our children when our children are not feeling safe at home. And if we're not showing and teaching our children what to stand up for, what to confront, how to do it positively, negatively, for the greater outcome that, we are hoping for, then what we're doing is we're leading by example, right? So whether that's good or bad, every situation is different. It's how you are teaching, how you are leading. Are you verbalizing one thing but doing another, or are you acting on what they're seeing, what they're feeling? Are you sharing the emotions? Are you explaining what's going on? And a lot of that has to depend on the age of the child. There's a lot of things that go into it. So leading by example and confronting is a pretty heavy and hot topic when it comes to confronting domestic violence.
I can't agree more. But and I mean, I even just think how you've been saying, lead by example. And the one example that came into my head of something I had to do was there was a confrontation with the Taekwondo teacher with how things were being handled. And my son looked at me and goes like, well, Mom, you said you're going to talk to him. And he'd keep coming up to me like, are you going to go talk to him? And it was something I didn't want to do. But like, again, leading by that example, I went and I had that conversation. It was uncomfortable, but I got through it. And he saw that I fall through with my word. And I think that's the first step, is when our kids see that kind of situation, that we fall through with it. And it leads to even a bigger spot when you're in that violent situation, though. And it's recognizing that you're in that situation, which is, I think, as Agape was saying, is the first step, is, and then how do I get out of it? And that's what her organization is there for. Those of you that are listening to this and like, I don't know what to do. That's when you reach out to Agape, because she's in this, trying to create this for us so that there is a solution to make that first step to get out. Now, the journey is on the other side, but that first step, and then we're here to help you with the journey after that. But that first step is, how do I safely get out of the situation? And that's why we're here. And Sherry and I just want to support Agape in this, because that's the first step. And I love that she's organized that for it. And she's given the opportunity, like, I'm giving that to you. I'm going to get you out of this situation. So that is your first step right here for you, ladies. Those of you that are feeling this right now or need that help, it's there for you. It's right here. You have to take it, though.
And ladies, I'm hearing the same thing from both of you. One, when Agape talked about using your resources, that's the village. It takes a village. It's not a singular effort. You're not by yourself. And Agape has an organization that's there for that purpose, to help you with those resources and education for that. So definitely, when we talk about leading by example, use your resources. Use your resources, and Agape is here for that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Really, this is, like I said, a very tough topic. And what we create in our home is, what the children feel comfortable in. And if they don't know better, they're not going to be able to do better. And like you said, Michelle, with your son, he kept coming up to you. Are you gonna say something? Are you gonna say something? And the cool thing about it is, hey, he's a Taekwondo teacher. He may be able to drop you on the floor in 0.1 second, but that's not the person that you're living with under your roof. And just taking it back to at home. How can we teach our children what is right when we're in the wrong situation? How do we lead by example and show the mature way of confronting the situation and the choice that we make? Because again, the development of the child, depending on the age, is going to impact them so much differently. And it's our job to teach our children real life lessons as we're going through it. So I really like how you say, once you acknowledge you have a choice, and you're absolutely correct. Once you acknowledge that something isn't right, you have a choice and how you want to make it better. Once you make that choice, the next step is taking the action. And that's where we are today, talking about the action that needs to be taken, because the action is truly what is leading the example. Regardless of what we say, it's the action that we take.
I love that you were talking about choice, because at some point, whatever choices you made put us in these situations that we're in. But now it's our chance to take accountability and say, I do have a choice to get out of it. And I can find those resources to help me get out of it and make that choice, because we're making choices all the time. And yes, we make mistakes, but we have each other to help when we're in those situations. But you have to choose to do that. It has to be your choice to say, I'm ready to make a change. I'm ready to get out of this situation. And that's where I think we're going to leave you, ladies, today, is that the choice is yours. Choice is yours to do what you choose to do with it. Agape's heart is in this because she was in that situation. She made that choice to make a difference. So she wants to provide that opportunity, that choice for each of you out there that may have found yourself in that situation because of the choices that happened in the past. But that's okay. We all make mistakes. That doesn't define you. What defines you now is what you do with it moving forward. Get out of that situation. Make the choice to get out. And that's what we're talking about with confronting today. And so I'll let Agape finish it off today, since she started us today.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And, the worst feeling that any mother could feel is regret on not making, the difference or the choices that she knew that needed to be made but weren't made out of fear, and then seeing their children go through a childhood that is disturbed, a teenage life that is confused, and an adult life that repeats the pattern. It's up to us to break the link. And so that's what I want to leave with. The resources are out there, and the community is out here, and the connections are out here.
Can you tell us your website one more time, so in case people missed it?
Confrontingdomesticviolence.org.
And if you need your assets protect, what's your contact, Sherry?
Yes, it's just CheriePrince .com. It'll take you right to our landing page. And Cherie is SCHERRIE, CheriePrince.com.
And again, I actually just posted 2 women's circles coming up. And if you need the connection, go to connectingmamas.com, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys later.